Lately, I've been casting a ton of Bronze, Silver, and Gold League viewer-submitted matches, but what I got for you today is something a little bit higher up on the ladder. This is going to be a Master League Zerg versus Protoss. Spawning in the top left corner, playing with the red Protoss pieces, we have none other than Net. And his opponent, spawning in a cross position and playing in blue, and I'm gonna apologize in advance, because I think I'm gonna absolutely butcher your nickname. We have none other than Xiao. I quickly looked it up. I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce it, but in case anyone is offended, I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that many vowel sounds right next to each other. Anyway, it looks like he is gonna open up actually with a really... No, he's still gonna open up with a really quick hatchery right here anyway. Going for a Drone Scout 2. Now, this is rather uncommon, but he went for that 14 hatchery on the low ground. And of course, this drone will quickly get across the map, and he will scout exactly what Net is going for. That fort is already going up, and that does mean... Excuse me, that does mean that Net is indeed planning on playing a little bit aggressive. He's already putting up the first pylon on the other side of the map, and that means that a cannon rush is imminent in this match right here as well. Of course, it happens at literally every single level of play. Every now and then, even at like the highest level of StarCraft 2 in like professional games, do we see a strategy like the one right here. But I wonder though, if Xiao is even going to be able to defend against this, because he's not pulling any workers just yet. Now he's looking around his main. We'll be able to shortly see these buildings right here on the low ground. But interestingly enough, yeah, I was going to say he's going to have to cancel that hatchery for sure. Interestingly enough, there is a gateway with this as well. So Net is committing very heavily here into doing as much damage as he can at this point in the game. Now of course, Xiao did indeed go for that quick hatchery at 14 supply, which is much sooner than you normally expect. Now apparently these probes right there teamed up together against that lonely little drone, and he even got shot at by that photon cannon as well. This is gonna get a little messy though, because he will have to defend against cannons that will indeed go up into his main base as well. Now of course this gateway will also allow Net to start producing zealots on this side of the map. But indeed I think the response with the spine crawlers here is the smart one, going all the way up to even 3 of them, as well as a roach warren and double gas. Now Xiao doesn't really have a whole lot of mineral income right now. I'm a little worried for that. He needs way more workers. As you can see right now already on the other side of the map, even though Net is not using the gas and whatnot just yet, he's already up to 18 workers versus only 11 drones, and that's not really the situation that you want to be in. Now of course these spine crawlers will finish up before that photon cannon will, or at the very least they should be able to nuke this one down in time. But that zealot is now also coming out, and that may turn the tides just a little bit. Nah, I actually don't think it will matter all too much. Look at these spines. They will finish plenty in time right here to get rid of that photon cannon as well as the zealot. And this is turning out to be a really solid defense so far though, but still the worker count is nothing to write home about. Xiao really needs to continue mining those minerals, and indeed he is doing it the smart way here as well, pulling all of the drones out of the gas there upon realizing that he's not gonna need it. But of course, right as I say that, he's immediately putting the drones back in. But that could probably be because of the roach warren. He will probably be able to start creating some Ravagers here very shortly and potentially deal with this aggression. Now, interestingly enough, Net ended up like constructing a cyber core here as well as a robotic facility, and he's now going for the double robotics. I guess he's planning to just simply kill his opponent from the inside out. He's not looking to expand anytime soon, and we all know the strength of, for example, Immortals against spine crawlers. I mean, they will be able to absolutely tear their way through this, but at the same time, the Zerglings, of course, do have their advantages as well against those Immortals if they manage to get the surround out. At this point in time, there is no speed available for the Zerg player just yet, but still, slow Zerglings and Ravagers, they're gonna be just fine against, you know, just a handful of Immortals in the earlier part of this game. And there we do indeed see the first 2 Ravagers being morphed in here as well. Now Net going straight into the Chrono Boost right there, starting up his very first Immortal, and I'm assuming that the second one is also gonna start producing here as much as he can. Now he decides to go ahead and build a Warp Prism there instead. So maybe he's planning to like do some pickup micro with the Immortal. That would have a lot of potential. Now, of course, this is indeed a Master League match, right? So these players are going to be perfectly capable of dealing the damage here. But of course, one thing to keep in mind is that right now there's very little here ready to defend against this, and these pylons are the only ones powering these buildings. Now, the Immortal is out right now. The Warp Prism will shortly come out as well. You'll need to be very, very careful though. The Zerglings, or rather the Roaches and the Ravagers, are going after that unit right now, splitting off those Roaches to go after the pylons here instead. I'm liking liking it a lot, but I'm gonna go ahead and play Ring Around the Rosie, because now that the Warp Prism is out and the second Immortal is queued up, the micro shenanigans can begin. The question is he good enough for the shenanigans? Technically speaking, if you pick up well, you can deal an awful lot of damage. You can kill these units. Yeah, there we go, that's it. Oh no. If he does it well, you can kill all of these units with just a single Immortal. But it does come, you know, you will have to do that perfectly. The way this works is that the Immortal will actually be able to deal damage before the shot of the Ravager can hit. And if you pick up the unit in time, the damage registration right there is gonna get a little... Oh my god, he's gonna be able to do a lot of work if he does this well. Gotta be careful though, cannot lose the Warp Prism here for obvious reasons. These Immortals are extremely vulnerable, but even then, I'm wondering if there's not just simply a little bit too much Zerg. He's just gonna rally more and more units here. Another Immortal was just about to finish up. He even got 2 more queued up right there. Little bit sloppy by Deaconnet. Oh my god, 2 of these Ravagers end up paying for that with their lives. That hatchery will indeed be forced to get cancelled here as well. And I mean, these Immortals, they're doing a lot of work. They're going to be capable of once again dropping off here if he so decides to choose. I mean, I guess he's trying to get whatever value he can. He really needs to cancel these things, by the way. He really needs to cancel those. Now, once again, we see some proper micro there going after that Ravager. 1 Ravager falls. Second one is going to take a lot of damage. Nice pickup micro once again. Hatchery once more, though, in production right there. It's going to, you know, go down there on the low ground. And in the meantime, on the other side of the map, I mean, there's a very small amount of production. Really, like, Protoss so far has been very focused on just simply getting as much micro out of these units as he can. And so far, he's doing a good job. Hatchery once again killed. Drone once more does get sniped there as well. And it does mean that that hatchery will not go up. I would love to see an expansion right now, but apparently there's a pylon going up once again. The Immortals are going to town now with some absolutely insane micro. These 2 Immortals are pretty much killing like every single unit that was available there, with the exception of these 3 Ravagers. I mean, the Ravagers now realize it as well. Pylon is indeed now also finishing up here, and that aggression is gonna continue onwards. Now at this point there's not enough supply available to start producing the next ones here too. Warp Prism, however, is also now chasing down these Ravagers, and 2 Immortals, I mean, they're regenerating shields right now, right? They're gonna be pretty happy here on the other side of the map, because they're gonna be capable of cleaning up these units with relative ease. Now you will need to target fire this down, of course. Very solid targeting so far as well by that Zerg player, trying to do whatever damage he can, but I mean, it's just simply not enough. These Ravagers with that Warp Prism micro, I mean, look at that. They will be able to get a probe, but all 3 of them end up falling. But in the meantime, on the other side of the map, a couple of slow Zerglings are finally produced, and I would have loved to see this a little bit sooner. Zergling speed now also just about to finish up here, and I think that this is the last she wrote for the aggression here on the other side of the map. So yeah, finally gonna be able to grab himself that hatchery, but at this point in the game, he is definitely in a disadvantage. The question is though, I mean, with my experience on the ladder so far, right, and I've played a fair share of ladder games. I mean, couple of dozen, tens of thousands. I've played a fair share of ladder games. Normally, right, and this goes for people in Master League as well, and it's not necessarily true, but normally whenever a Master level Protoss opens up with cheese, or for any player really, they will usually not be the strongest, like, macro player. And it all depends on how this goes. Now, judging by the amount of resources that Deaconnet has available right now as well, I think we can safely assume that that is the case for him too. He was 100% planning on closing out this game with just the Immortals and the Cannons as well as the Zealots. And while he's done a reasonable amount of damage, he's got to follow this up with more and more aggression. No hatchery going down, or no Nexus rather going down just yet. Now, we do see continued micro here once again, you know, with that Warp Prism. But he's racking up to 2,500 resources, which is way more than you want to have happen at this point in the game. Now, of course, he's playing a Ring Around the Rosie, but the Zerglings just a little bit too fast. He should really just simply right-click on top of that Warp Prism, just like that indeed. Definitely the correct way to go. Now, with that Queen in action as well, I think that Protoss will have to take an expansion. He's gonna need that Nexus shortly, in just a minute or so from now. I mean, these mineral patches are already looking very skinny. They're gonna run out, and he will need something to try and deal with this damage. A little bit messy here though by Deaconnet. Deaconnet is trying his very best to do whatever damage he can with the units that he's got. He does have a you know, a good amount of micro there, and he's gotten a ton of value out of the small army that he's got. But the question is he gonna be able to close this one out? It's 22 Heartfests right now versus only 21 here for the Protoss. Zerg finally pulling ahead in that supply count, but you gotta keep in mind, this is still a well upgraded Protoss force right here. I mean, these units will of course do a lot of value. And if you get, for example, like I like this a lot. We'll talk about that in a second. But if he gets, for example, like a zealot, or like simply an adept army could work, but I guess like a zealot Zentry kind of composition in combination with these immortals, if he gets like charged as well shortly, that could do a ton of damage as well. Nexus eventually does go down. Now I'm liking this setup right here for Xiao a lot actually. While that micro was beautiful here in the earlier stages of the game, and I don't think the Zerking drop is going to be able to achieve a whole lot, the unit right here, the Hydralisk Den, is of course going to provide a lot of value once it indeed finishes morphing into a Lurker Den. Now Lurkers of course extremely potent. The thing is that Immortals will still be able to overpower them, but it's very much so a numbers game, right? I don't think these Zerklings are gonna do a whole lot right there, my man. I'm sorry, Xiao, you're gonna have to stop unloading right there. That Dropper Lord is very sad. He started his life just as a scout, and now, I mean, he's got some additional sacks of pus, I suppose, and he managed to create some room right there for the Zerglings. It's not quite going to be enough, but the thing is, Lurkers deal bonus damage against armored, right? And they deal an awful lot of it as well. Now, the funny part is here that Immortals can still easily power their way through a bunch of these Lurkers, and it really all comes down to having vision. If the vision is there, and you know that the Lurkers are burrowed, you can jump on top of them as a Protoss player. However, if the Zerg is able to sort of like surprise his opponent, either by hold firing or just simply creating more than he can deal with, there is a ton of potential right then and there as well. And while I actually do like the setup right here that Deaconette was going for, I mean, I just mentioned it as well, right? To go for that, you know, Zealot Zentry kind of composition, I like it a lot. He is a bit too Zealot, or a little bit too Sentry heavy right now. I guess he had some gas to spend. I would love to see him indeed, like, you know, add a lot of zealots to this army, because he needs way more to try and deal with this. But already, the first Lurkers are on the production tab. Xiao is now also gonna follow this up with a third base here, and while he is still pretty significantly behind here in the supply counts, he is not out of this game just yet, because he's got a tech right here that his opponent simply cannot see at this point in time. There's absolutely no detection available, no new robotics facility was made, and that's smart thinking, right there. More sentries! Come on, dude! How many sentries does that make? 18 sentries and 6 zealots? I mean, I was thinking more like 6 sentries and 18 zealots. I mean, you can tickle the Zerg to death, I guess, with the sentries. They deal very little damage. Anyway, at this point in time, right, it's good thinking right here by the Zerg, because the chances of his opponent having detection here are rather small. He did go for the double robotics, of course, but at this point there's simply no vision. Lurkers are not going to be capable to get spotted. There's no storm or any like splash damage available here for the Protoss player, so there's no way he can accidentally kill these Lurkers either. This is going to get messy very, very quickly. Look at the amount of army here though for the Protoss. I wonder if it even matters. There's 2 Lurkers available right now. They do deal a lot of damage, but the question is it going to be enough? I mean, these units will still be able to power their way through this third base with absolute ease. So many force fields available. I guess that is one of the advantages right there of having this many sentries. Come on, kill that base. Okay, no, he's gonna go ahead and kill that base. Now, Lurkers are indeed now also, you know, burrowing on top of that high ground. 3 more cocoons are now also morphing in. But here we go. The Protoss is now moving up on that high ground. And the question is, will he give those Lurkers the respect that they deserve? Already so much damage gets dealt by these couple of guys. 5 kills for the one here at the top of that ramp, but actually, it looks like they're gonna be capable of giving chase right here to that Protoss army. Put down some force fields, dude! Delay that Zerg from killing all of your units. There you go. Finally, one of the sentries does turn around. He's a hero for that Protoss army here, giving the Zealots as well as the Immortals a bit more time to move, but I'm still starting to get a little bit I'm starting to get a bit worried right here. Deaconette only just now producing that robotic facility. He is capable of slowing down the advancement right there of the Zerg, which is important, but he's gonna need detection. He's gonna need something here to try and see these Lurkers once they are burrowed, because at this point, it's just simply none of that available. Once again, Lurkers will be able to burrow themselves into the ground, and I mean, they already are picking up an awful lot of kills. I would actually love to see more and more of these units to go down as well. I mean, if you get up to like 8 Lurkers here, there's little that the Protoss can do. I mean, he finally does finish that robotics. He needs to queue up an observer. Get yourself an observer. I think you're gonna need it. There we go. Finally, it does get on the production tab as well. But I think, even though Xiao actually did not get his expansion up until so very late, and I thought for pretty much like 90% certainty right there that he was dead after that beautiful Immortal micro in the earlier part of the game, he may have found a tech path right here that his opponent cannot deal with. Now, the Observer is out, of course. The thing is, there's also an Overseer here, so these Hydralisks can easily shoot down that Observer, and if that ends up happening, that could be all she wrote. I mean, of course, there's also the Photon Cannons, right? And the Photon Cannons will provide some detection here, too. Apparently, a couple of Zealots made their way across here, or they may very well have come out of that War Prison, but defensive units here are going to be more than enough to deal with this. Now, the Fortress, of course, will also be capable of providing that detection, but, I mean, the Photon Cannons are down right now, and even though he's got detection here, oh my god, the amount of damage that these Lurkers deal is absolutely staggering. It looks like the Hydras successfully managed to shoot down the only form of detection here for the Protoss as well, and somehow, some way, the Lurker army is advancing. There's no detection available here anymore for the red Protoss player, and while he was doing a great job at dealing the damage here earlier, he did not bring any detection across the map, and I like this 2-base play, I really do. I think the follow-up right there, oh my god, from Deaconnet was really smart. I mean, after establishing that massive early game lead, right, going for the 2-base push makes a lot of sense, but I do think that besides like the gazillion sentries he added on, he needed something to detect with. Either observers or even an oracle to go for that revelation. He needed something to keep track right there of the Zerg's army. And it turns out that indeed it was not quite enough right there for the Protoss player. And secretly, I'm quite happy here that the Zerg managed to squeeze out the victory. I hope you enjoyed watching it as well. If you haven't already, do make sure you hit that like button down below. And if you want to see more, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get a notification as soon as I upload more. And other than that, I want to thank you for watching. Have an amazing day. Do not forget to smile, alright? And I will see you in the next one.